are back on Red State Radio. Thank you for staying with us. I'm talking to Sean Cummings today, who his wife, Kathy, they spent about a year on the campaign trail, and they actually did something that I will say their opponent did not do, and that is travel. It seemed to me like you went to every damn town in Oklahoma, and it was pretty phenomenal. So you didn't have the money to spend, so instead you basically just scraped up gas money, got in your car, drove out, and met the people. And that's a very difficult. In Oklahoma, you're fighting against such a political machine, and that's a tough thing to do. We all have that issue as progressives or populists in Oklahoma, that we're running against huge, conservative, well-fed, well-oiled machines. But you did a great job of reaching people.
Thank you.
First, I want to name off. This is your website. It's in progress now. I know you're getting ready to get it up. Student Mentor Project USA. .com. So everybody write that down. Student Mentor Project USA.com.
Right.
And that will be the website from which you will work on this program that I think you've already started the program, right?
Well, here's the thing. This is kind of a weird project that started. Okay. When we were out, we traveled literally every town in this state. And if anybody remembers Drew Edmondson, and Drew Edmondson was the attorney general here in Oklahoma for, I think, 16 or 20 years, and he ran for governor. He's actually a good guy. And Drew and Kathy were at some function, and she was talking about running, and he said, Kathy, I don't know if you can win, but the closest you can get to winning is walking across the state of Oklahoma. And you do that, and everybody's going to know you, and if you don't win this time, you can win the next time. And he was very honest about the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we sat down and took his advice, and literally took his advice. We sat down with a friend of ours named David Glover, who you know, and Glover mapped it out, and he said, instead of walking across the state of Oklahoma, he said, that's pointless. You have too many hundreds of miles of nobody. He said, go to one town, walk through the town, meet everybody in the town, go door to door, every store, everything you can get, drive to the next town, do the same thing, drive to the next town, do the same thing, and you can get a lot more people. Because if you walk the state, you're going to spend a year walking through nowhere because so many of the towns could be 50 miles apart.
Right.
So in the process of doing this, we literally hit, I don't know, somewhere like 500 towns. But we traveled with these doctors that were running for state superintendent of schools. Dr. John Cox, Dr. Frida Deskin, and Dr. Ivan Holmes, and another guy named Jack Heron. So we spent an entire year on the road with these 3 PhDs that were running for school superintendent. So I literally got my entire education about our school system from these 3 PhDs, which was amazing. Guess what I found out? There's some interesting stories. So only 23% of our students actually get out of high school and graduate from college. A lot of us know that, right? It's dismally low.
Is that a national number or Oklahoma?
No, that's Oklahoma.
And I assume we're
down towards the bottom, unfortunately. National, I think, is 26. It's really not that high either.
Right.
But it's 27% go to college. Only 23% actually graduate, and that's a 2 or a 4-year program. That's not just 4-year college. That's 2 or 4. So Dr. John Cox was kind of the most reasonable one of all of them, and he said, "Look, those kids are fine." He said, "Look, they more than likely come from a 2-parent family. They usually come from a normal family background. Not all of them, but most of them." He goes, "What are we doing for the other 77%? He goes, "What have we taught them? Are they prepared for life? What life skills do they have? Have we given them any opportunity in life after high school?" And I would hear this every place, and he ended up winning the primary, and he ended up going into the general election. So we just spent a lot more time with him, and Kathy and I would go out to dinner with him and his wife, and we'd talk more and more and more about this. And what we ended up narrowing it down to is not the 77%, but the bottom 25%.
Right.
Who are the ones that end up in prison.
Yes.
Because the bottom 25 are frustrated in school. They're not doing well in school. Nobody really pays any attention to them. You're just trying to get them in through school and out. Yeah. Now, they used to be the people that could go work in factories. They could work construction jobs. They could work union jobs. They could do a lot of things that paid well, and you could do well in society. Those jobs have moved on to other countries, or they've just ended.
Right.
So now,
or we've gutted wages on them if we've kept them here.
to $7 an hour. Right.
Exactly.
They are exactly what we're talking about. They're the minimum wage jobs. So we put them in a position of near starvation, panic wages. And when I say panic wages, it's when your car breaks, you're homeless because you had to pay $300 for your car. You can't pay your rent, and 6 weeks later, you're homeless. Your kid gets sick. You have a hospital bill that they won't admit you to the hospital because you didn't pay the last bill. So you got to do something desperate. It's another panic wage deal. So you pay that hospital bill, you can't pay your house payment, or you can't pay your apartment bill, and you're homeless in 6 weeks. So they end up doing something desperate. They do another crime. They end up back in prison again, and it's a recidivism rate, and it just keeps rolling over and over again. So when people say that they go from high school to the prison, it's a school system to the prison, it's an automatic feeder, they mean it. So what do we do as a society to solve this? Because it's not in our lawmakers' interest to solve it. Okay, right. I'm going to go ahead and get myself in trouble here. Guess who takes money from the private prisons? Our lawmakers. And you went into this at the start of the show. Huge amounts of money. Yep. It's shocking how much money our lawmakers take from private prisons and then write laws to guarantee that these private prisons will remain full. Yep. We actually guarantee that private prisons will remain full, like a hotel. We will guarantee them 98% occupancy rate. Now, we won't even do that for a Marriott hotel that will come in, but we do it for a prison.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Bizarre.
And in return, we then have the private prisons and groups like ALEC and the large corporations who guarantee that people like Mary Fallon become governor, or Scott Lamb, probably in line next. Well, they both worked in Frank Keating's administration, and Frank Keating was the one who introduced private prisons to Oklahoma. So this is just it's like electing 3 George Bushes as president, or 3 Bushes as president. It continues forever.
And the problem is you're not going to get the people to vote against this because the people that could vote against it are working jobs where they don't even know that they can ask to get off work to go vote.
Right.
Because they're the scared, huddled masses. So here's my idea. So I'm traveling around with them, and I said, well, God, as an entrepreneur, these are the exact people that could own their own company. Maybe not the $1 million company. Let's quit trying to sell people the dream of winning the lottery. But you could own your own backhoe company. Start off shoveling ditches, but own your own backhoe company. Start off fixing lawnmowers, and then eventually own your own shop where you fix cars. Start off with a hot dog cart and eventually own a food truck and eventually own a restaurant. Start off washing people's cars in their driveway and then eventually own a car wash. Start off cleaning out people's driveways and then eventually own a moving company. I mean, start off very small and build it into something.
Mow lawns and become a landscaping company. And I've actually seen that happen. Just people expand. And that's what I did. I started out setting tile, and 10, 15 years later, I was hiring people from the inner city, places like Northwest Classen, kids who didn't have a chance. And about 15 of them are now out running their own companies.
Right.
So each person who starts a company, if they train their people properly and those people learn really good skills, that multiplies on its own exponentially eventually.
Right. But here's the thing. Entrepreneurs can talk to these guys in a language that nobody else can talk to. If you're thinking about going out and selling drugs, or you're thinking about going and starting a lawn care company, I can sit you down and go, okay, here's the Freakonomic books on selling drugs. You're going to eventually make $8.50 an hour and go to prison, or you can go mow lawns and probably make $20 an hour and not go to prison. Let me show you how. And break it down on paper. Okay? So here's the thing. I go to this, a week ago I go to where did I actually go? Not Henrietta. I'll think of the name of the town here in a minute. But it's a town an hour and a half, 15 minutes away from Oklahoma City. Nobody goes there. Nobody pays attention to them. And I'm going to talk to their culinary arts program, and it's about 15 students in that class. And then they have a business class that has about 35 students in it. And my goal is to go give an epic speech to them. I want to give a 30-minute speech to them that just gets them interested. I want to implant it in the back of their brain, you can own your own company, okay? Mm-hmm. Because their parents probably don't own their own companies because they live in a small town. The odds are Walmart's cleared out their town, so there's no business owners left. Yep. Okay, and I'm not going to get on Walmart because it's going to take me an hour to do that. So I'll just take the short version. There aren't any business owners left in these small towns, so they've got to have an outsider come in and do it. So I come in and I give you the lecture about making a plan, having a mentor, and taking a step. It's 3 small things. The first one is just having a plan. Harvard did a study back in the 50s of their students, and you go, okay, it's Harvard, one of the top schools in America. Only 3% of the students at Harvard had a plan. Now, if you want to be better than one of the best universities in America, and you're just at a small school here, have a plan, and you're already better than 97% of the students at Harvard. And if your plan is you want to buy a 1967 Mustang convertible, that's a plan. At least you got something to shoot for. You've got a dartboard to throw the dart at. Now, if you can write that down and how much money you think it'll cost, if it's $26,000, write that down and put that up on the mirror in your bathroom. And you look at that every morning and every night, you've got something to shoot for. And what are you willing to do to get there? Are you willing to mow lawns? Are you willing to clean out people's houses? Are you willing to go on the weekends and go bag groceries? Are you willing to go be a busboy in a restaurant? What are you willing to do? Have that be your action plan. But the second thing is to get a mentor. And the reason you got to get a mentor rather than have a parent do it, because parents are soft. Some parents are hard, but most of them will let you lay on the couch a little bit. Most of them will give you excuses. Mentors, Mark, if I was your mentor and you call me and you go, hey, will you send me a video on such and such, Mr. Cummings? Will you teach me how to do this? And I go, I will, but there's a book called Think and Grow Rich. And if you read that book first and write me a little 2